just had her.
Chicken. She was on the ground. Are you videoing?
No.
Are you?
I am recording. I don't do videos there.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. I just forgot what the name of it was.
Okay.
I knew it was like...
Can you get us started?
Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away. Oops, forgot. I forgot the intro. This is a story about... Dad, what's it about? This is a story about,
What do you want it to be about?
What do you want it to be about?
Oh, I know. This is a story
about a kid
that lost his tongue. From copying people.
Oh, and then also, can you make this a double story about the kid who had double shoe?
Okay. Sure. Yeah. You want me to just retell that one since we didn't record it?
So first we're gonna do the kid who lost his tongue. Then we're gonna do the other one.
Okay. One time, many years ago, back when I was cool.
You're still
so
cool?
A very long time ago, basically.
No, you're still cool.
I was in 7th grade. And so that would make me 14 or 15 or something like that. Anyway, so I was in 7th grade and it was test day and everybody was freaking out because we always freaked out. I never did freak out during tests, by the way.
Wait, which one is this?
And so we walk in and I get there and I notice the kid in front of me has no shoelaces on his right foot.
No, Daddy!
What?
You're supposed to do the kid who lost his tongue first.
Oh, well, fine. All right.
Sorry about that, folks.
You act like we're doing this for an audience. Okay, so now I got to make up a story about the kid that lost his tongue. Okay. All right. So, well, have you ever heard of people say like when they slap you on the back, if you're making a funny face, you'll stick that way? Have you ever heard that?
No.
Well, when we were kids, this is funny. All the grown-ups would say, stop making faces. If somebody slaps you on the back, you're going to stick that way. And for the longest time, because we were really young, we actually believed it. But then as we got older, we kind of tried it. Right? So one time my buddy Joey and I were goofing around and he kept sticking out his tongue. So I went up behind him and I slapped him on the back. And lo and behold, pow, his tongue stayed stuck out. And I'm like, oh, wow, our parents were right? And he said, healthy. And then starts freaking out. And I'm like, Joey, calm down. And he couldn't. He starts jumping up and down. I'm like, you better calm down. I'm telling you. And so next thing you know, he's starting to freak out. He's screaming his head off, blah, blah, blah. And I'm usually a calm, cool. Remember I said I was cool back then, so I was pretty cool about it. Anyway, so I took him, and we were on skateboards. So we skated home, and we got to my dad's house. And my dad was sitting there in the chair, but embarrassingly, he always wore like his boxer briefs, like kind of like underwear, but almost like shorts. But this time they had little purple grapes on them with smiley faces, and I'm like, Dad, can you put some pants on? He's like, there's my house. I ain't wearing no pants in my house. And I said, Dad, you got grapes and smiley faces. He's like, oh, where's my underwear? Anyway, he apparently got somebody else's underwear and got mixed up. So he was watching TV, and on the TV was this show about dogs who liked pickles, right? And so they were throwing pickles for dogs to fetch.
What?
And then Joey starts laughing and my dad starts laughing. Everybody's laughing so hard. And next thing you know, Joey slips, boom, falls down, bites his tongue off because he was stuck that way. And the dog, we had a dog, thinks it's a pickle. So the dog's chasing after it and the tongue is bouncing around. It was a complete crazy mayhem show. And meanwhile, my dad didn't even notice that Joey bit his tongue off. So he's laughing about the dogs chasing Pickles on TV. And then my brother comes out. My brother's like, I'm listening to rock music, dude. This is Def Leppard. And Joey's freaking out because he lost his tongue. I look at my brother. I'm like, Joey just bit his tongue off. And my brother's like, what are you talking about, man? Def Leppard. And that's all he could say at that time. Either that or like Motley Crue or Poison or something like that. I don't know. But these were all band names, by the way. And so then he goes back into his room. I decide, well, I'm going to go get a towel. And then I did. But luckily for me, the tongue had bounced in the kitchen and our dog didn't quite get it yet. And then it bounced up. You know those little rubber balls when you throw them? How they bounce really hard? That's what Joey's tongue was doing. It was the weirdest thing. And so I caught it in a towel. We jump on our skateboards. And I had to wrap like a big sheet around Joey's head so he could barely see while he was skateboarding. But we rode up to the doctor, and the doctor sewed his tongue back on. And he had this method of unsticking where I had smacked him on the back. It had something to do like with some position on his back. He had to do like A, B, up, down, left, right. And then boom, hit him in the same space, which he called a start for some reason. I don't know. And then Joey was able to pull his tongue back in. And we learned the biggest lesson that day, that your parents are totes right when they tell you things and that you should listen to them.
Smack me on the back.
No, clearly, someone wasn't listening.
Smack me on. Wait, was that a true story?
Totes.
Pinky promise?
I can't do that.
Pinky promise me!
Let me tell the next story. Are you ready?
No.
Okay.
Slap me on the back.
Is it bedtime?
Slap me on the back.
Let me ask you something.
Slap me on the back. I'm not doing anything.
Well, let me ask you this: if somebody were to slap you on the back and your face stuck, how would you feel about that?
I would yell at him.
You would, wouldn't you? Now, could I do that to my own daughter? I would never, ever hurt my baby. Not gonna happen, pal. Okay. One more story, and it's bedtime. Are you trying to smack your own back?
Yeah.
You can't do that. You don't even know the A, B, up, down, left, right, start procedure. So, ow. Okay. Either next... Stop trying to hit yourself on the back, honey. Well, now I do need a video recording because you look silly. Okay, you're going to hurt yourself. Do you want another story, yes or no?
Yes, but just... Wait, let me do something.
What?
The next story is now called... Nope. The next story is... It is the other half of this story. It is called The Boy and the Pooh Shoe.
The Boy and the Pooh Shoe. Okay, so...
It all starts with my dad being bored.
I wasn't bored. It was test day. I was walking in to
so
take
you're
a
bored.
test. Also, mind you, in 7th grade, a lot of stuff happened that year, apparently. So I walk in to take a test, and I see the boy in front of me. He doesn't have any shoelaces on his right shoe, and I'm like, huh, that's weird. And then we go to, we're doing our test, and the whole class have to be quiet. You're not allowed to talk or anything. So he gets done just a little bit before I do, and he gets up to walk out, but his shoe stays there, and he walks out. And I hurry up and finish up, and I try to grab his shoe, and I go to pick it up, and it's stuck, and I can't move it. And so I run out after him, and I say, hey, come here. And by the time I had gotten to him, it was a little too late, so he was in the other classroom. I looked through the window, and he's in there taking another test. But somehow he's got 2 shoes on. I'm like, that guy did not have time to find and put on shoes. So I watch him, and he gets up when he finishes his test, and he walks out of that shoe. I'm like, that is the weirdest thing. And so he comes out, and at this point, I'm a little bit stunned and speechless. I just kind of look at him. And he walks across the hall, and he goes and sits down, and he sits his foot into another shoe, and he's in there taking his science class. And he walks out, and I'm like, I'm really confused. He said, well, you look confused. And I said, you had a shoe in my class with no shoelace, and it's stuck to the floor. He goes, yeah? And I said, then you go and you take your English test, and you had shoes on. He goes, yeah? And then when you left that, you had another shoe there. You left it. He goes, so? And then you had one in science, and you left it there. And he says, so what of it? And I'm like, that's not normal. Anyway, he turns around, he walks into the bathroom, and I followed him in there, and I see him in the stall wearing two shoes. He comes out of the stall, and he's washing his hands, and I said, what's that shoe for? And he said, that's my poo shoe. And that's it.
That is not how I told the story last.
You're right. I missed a part, because he said, that's my English shoe, that's my math shoe, that's my science shoe. And then that was my poo shoe, right? Did I mess that up? See, that's the problem. When I make up stories, I just make them up, and I'm not really thinking about remembering them.
May I tell us another story? May I tell a story?
Oh, I suppose.
Once upon a time. Okay, so this story is about a little girl who didn't listen.
To what? To music?
To her parents.
Oh, okay.
And first let me introduce the characters. You will listen to parent 1, which is the mom, parent 2, the dad, auntie and uncle, random dog, random cat, and parent Ellie. Ellie is the main character of this story. One day, Ellie was taking a bath, but she didn't like baths at all. So she ran the water, sat on the bathroom floor reading a magazine, like she always does, and then pussed up the towels to act like she had taken a bath. And then she called, Mommy, Daddy, parent 1, parent 2, I'm done. So she watched TV, and she loved sugar, so she snuck herself a popsicle. Well, 2 popsicles for that matter. And then a few days later, her auntie and uncle came. Her auntie was named Rosetta, and her uncle was named Pablo. And Pablo and Rosetta really loved Ellie. But one thing, they snuck her candy too much. They snuck her a ginormous, like almost a crib full of candy. Pretty much they snuck her a special little crib for her candy.
They snuck it to her, or they took it from her?
Snuck it to her.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they liked her.
They do.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Well, what happened next?
And Dad, be patient.
Oh, sorry, I got excited.
Then, one day, her parents told her, okay, we've seen about your sneaking candy. Oh, and one note. She always demanded presents, and she was such a gift that her parents actually gave her more presents.
Even though she was demanding them, huh?
Uh-huh.
Wow, that's not going to end well.
But one day, everything changed, and she broke her gifts every single morning. She pulled the legs off of her dolls. She jumped on her bed into white feathers puffed up and up over
Wow.
her. And she rang her bell. When she rang her bell, her servants came in with jam. She spilled all of the jam on her rug. She spilled urns of melt on her carpet. And the worst part, she had butter all over her hands, and she was so messy. But one day, when she did, she came to parent 1 and parent 2 and asked them for her next gift. A soft white dog with black spots. And they said, no, we know how you've been training your gifts. And sneaking candy and sweets. And especially soda. So we're not going to give any until we know that you can treat your gifts with love and kindness. This was the first time Ellie had ever been told no. She sprang up from parent 1's lap and kicked and rammed herself into the floor and kicked and ranted. But then, and she was so upset, she ran from the palace gates and she ran from her house. She ran until she found a big fir tree, and it said, Pinky the Wizard, do not disturb. And she thought, a wizard. And then she tore up her clothes to act like she was a poor person. And she went in anyways.
She went in anyway?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Even though it said, do not disturb.
Right.
And Pinky the Wizard was actually much bigger than she thought. And then it happened, the surprise of her life. He said, you look like the girl who was wanted for murder.
Oh my gosh, what? What? Where did you come up with that? That's horrible. Okay.
And she said, me? But I haven't done anything. But she knew she had. She had killed a poor dog.
Aww.
With black fur and white spots.
JJ, that's terrible.
It's my story.
Okay, go ahead. We'll see where it goes. Lost our phone. Okay. Go ahead. See where it goes.
And then, this was the first time Ellie had ever been wanted for murder.
Bum, bum, bum.
So she asked, me? What happened? And Pinky said, oh, you know what you've done. I know it was you is because
Wow.
Bum, bum, bum. Dad, take over the story.
Take the story over? Oh, how do I get us out of this mess? Well, okay. So,
Dad's taking the story over. I can't handle it.
Ellie turned to the pink wizard and said...
No, her name is Pinky.
Oh. Ellie turned to Pinky and said, just because I have a necklace that looks like somebody else's, what makes you think I am the culprit? And Pinky looked and said, well, my dear, as luck would have it, I'm a wizard and I can make a potion that will tell us exactly who it is. Or rather, it can make you tell the truth. We may not know who it is, but we will know if it's you. And so she tried to get out, but couldn't. And he said, aha, If you're running, it means you're guilty. And she said, it doesn't mean anything other than I have to go to the bathroom. Anyway, so he said, well, there's a bathroom to your right. So she went potty, and then when she came out, he's bubbling something in a big cauldron. And he said, hand me that jar over there. And she looks at the jars on the shelf. She says, which one? And he said, the one that says frog eyes.
Ew.
So she grabs the frog eyes, and he says, now hand me the snails. And so she grabs the snails. And now I need one eye of newt. So she opens the jar, and she goes, ew, and has to stick her fingers in there and grab one eye of newt.
You know it just.
And then it was
eyes.
so slip. What?
You know it said frog eyes, right?
Yeah, no, that was already in there. Now it was so slippery that it popped out and rolled on the floor. And she's like, "Is Dusty Eye of Newt okay?" And he said, "Yeah, that's fine. The water washes it off." So she popped it in there, and then he says a magic spell.
She.
Oh, sorry, Pinky is a she. Then Pinky says a magic spell. And it goes, saranam, nuranam, bingo. And poof, the water that was boiling in there with all that stuff makes its own little tube, starts flowing out without being in a tube. It just forms itself and swirls up into the air, looks around, and the eyeball of one of the frogs is in like the tip of it. So it's looking around and looks at her, and then flies right at her, boom, hits her on the face. And she's stunned for a brief moment, looks around and says, I think your outfit is ridiculous, Pinky. And he goes, aha, the truth serum works. Oh, yeah. She says, aha, the truth serum works. I'll have to make a note of that. But yes, I'm glad you're telling the truth. Now, let me ask you a few questions. 1, do you like eating so much candy? Yeah. 2, do you like having rotten teeth? She says, no. And then Pinky says, 3, where are your parents? And she says, I don't know. I think they're at home. And Pinky says, well, they're not going to be for long if you keep treating them that way. And lastly, did you murder that person, that girl?
It was a dog.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry. Did you murder that dog? And she says, absolutely not. And Pinky says, well, I think we've settled that. One last question. Ellie says, what is your question? And he said, she says, if you were me, what outfit would you wear? And she says, I would wear the pink outfit to match my pink shoes with my pink purse and my pink eyelashes, and then I would put pink stripes in my hair. Pinky says, very well, on your way then. Scooch her out the door. So Ellie goes back home, and by now she's so tired that she can barely walk, and she realizes she's only eaten candy. She hasn't eaten any good food to have actual energy other than something that just burned right through her, which is what sugar does. And then she gets home, and she finally makes it home, and she's like crawling desperately up to the porch. Mom, Dad, help me. And she kind of flops against the door, and her mom opens the door, and she's like, oh, it's our dear Ellie, who we've poorly treated because we have no good judgment as parents. And then the dad jumps up, and he's like, speak for yourself, lady. And they pick her up, and they put her in bed, and she gets a good night's sleep. And when she wakes up, she is fed broccoli for the next 6 weeks. And no more candy, and that was her punishment.
Oh, that's not all.
Oh, and cauliflower.
That's not all.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
take them from here. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. You go ahead.
But for not listening to her parents, who said she should eat more food and good stuff, after she was fed broccoli and and cauliflower for the next 6 weeks. Secretly, every time at night, she snuck candy in her mouth. And her mouth was now her teeth were so rotten. She didn't brush. They were mostly because she ate candy, but she also didn't brush. She was very, very gross. And then, only then, random dog who was a caramel colored dog with black eyes and blue spots. I don't know why I just said that. and random cat, which was pink with red spots. I don't know why I just said that. She actually had also, one day when she got out, when she went to the playground to play, she murdered the dog.
What's your fixation with murder? What have you been reading?
And the random cat.
What are you reading right now? Which book?
The Great Pet Heist.
Oh. Does somebody get murdered?
No.
Well, where are you getting this information from?
My brain.
Yeah, well, your brain's starting to worry me.
My brain's getting
You're
it
like
from
the happiest
cloud.
kid on earth. What?
My brain's getting it from the cloud.
Oh, from the cloud. So clearly.
Oh, doom!
Oh, bom, bom, bom.
You
You okay?
didn't even
All right.
know what the...
You might need to go into acting. So are we done with this crazy story?
No.
No, we're just gonna keep murdering poor animals.
And then she murdered a poor little squirrel.
Oh. Well, she must be nuts. Pa-da-pa.
Your turn to tell more.
Oh. Okay. So who is it that did this? Ellie?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Ellie seems a little bit psychotic to me, but we'll roll with it. So then her parents are like, "Young lady, what have you done? You have disgraced our family. You will now sit in your room and contemplate this for the next 16 years. And she said, "That's a bit harsh, don't you think? It's just murder." And they go, "Clearly we have done a poor job again. Let's have a talk." So they actually took her to a psychiatrist who really, really worked with her and found out she has a oblongata mongata, which is a rare disease, otherwise known as a brain cloud. And what happens is the brain is affected in such a way that you have no remorse for killing animals, which is horrible in and of itself. However, they had developed a pill that would activate that section of the brain so that she had more compassion and made her understand that that was entirely wrong thing to do. And so as she got older, she wasn't grounded for 16 years because they did find the help they needed. But as she got older, she realized how wrong and terrible that was. And she ended up being a pretty nice person who, incidentally, chose a career of a dietitian to help other kids. Because what happens when she got older, she herself got diabetes and had a very hard time with most of her life. So she got healthy, got off all the sugar, started living on mostly vegetables with a nice mutton, lettuce, and tomato once in a while, where the mutton is real lean. So good. And then she started teaching dietary to schools, to kids in schools, so that they too would learn how to eat properly and not end up with diabetes, which was very kind of her and very giving.
May I tell some more?
Oh gosh, you're gonna ruin it with another murder, aren't you? I can't solve all your murders, JJ.
And then, the day she died, she murdered 25,000 animals.
What was this, like Hitler's daughter?
Actually, yes, you're right. It
I'm
was
a little worried
Hitler's
about.
daughter.
I'm a little worried about you right now. Sheesh. Okay.
Wait, that's not all.
Oh, it's not. But wait, there's more.
And I'll name 5 of the animals
Okay.
she murdered. She murdered a dark gray African elephant,
Wow.
pink flamingo,
A real one?
Uh.
Oh, okay.
a crazy lion.
Wow. Why was he crazy? Did he tell bad jokes?
He had diabetes and he was actually lied.
And he was actually what?
He actually lied. He was a
Oh.
lying lion.
Oh, he was a lying lion. I get it. That's cute. Okay.
And an African gray parrot.
Oh, now I'm actually upset. Those are awesome.
And then
Elephants are good too.
and I'll name also the very last animal she murdered.
What?
A lion who bit her head off.
Oh, well, that seals her fate. Okay.
No, she killed the lion.
And
But-
then it bit her head off? How does a
No.
dead lion eat her head?
No, this is how it worked. So she killed the lion, but she only poked it with a stick.
And by poking it, she killed it?
She half.
Seems like kind of a weak lion to me.
She mostly killed it.
Oh, it was only mostly dead.
Uh-huh.
Ah, ha, ha, ha.
There's a
Clever.
big difference between all dead and mostly dead.
That's true. There's a huge difference. Okay, let's say goodnight.
But
It's
I'm
late.
not done.
Well, it's late.
Just listen. And then she said,
I feel like we're telling the never-ending story.
the never-ending story.
That was a good book.
Never-ending story.
The movie was terrible.
Yeah,
Okay.
the movie was terrible.
Yeah.
And then, for some strange reason, the lion that was mostly dead got one of those chocolate-covered yummy pills, and then
Brought him back to life?
brought him halfway
Oh,
back to life.
Halfway, right. Because he gave him the pill too soon, huh?
And then
Yeah.
bit Ellie's head off,
Okay.
but Ellie was only mostly dead now.
Wait a minute. You can't, you're all dead if your head is missing. You're pretty much all dead.
Listen, Daddy.
You're not mostly dead.
Listen, Daddy.
You couldn't even eat a pill. You have no head.
Listen, Daddy.
Yeah, there's a flaw in your story. Plot flaw.
Listen, Daddy.
Okay.
And then, where was I? I forgot. Can you please tell me where I was?
A lion bit someone's head off who somehow didn't die.
Oh, yeah. The lion bit Ellie's head off. But she just had the strength to kill the lion until it was mostly dead again.
Oh, okay.
And the lion who was mostly dead ate another of those pills and bit Ellie's head off again.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. All right, let's
but
say
Ellie
goodnight.
was only mostly dead, and she killed the lion fully.
So
and
they
then,
just kind of went back and forth
And then,
at this after some time.
then the mama of the dead lion killed Ellie by biting her head off again.
Good night.
Can we hear our story?
No, it's like 45 minutes long at this point. You want to say goodnight to your future self?
Bye.